ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you so much everybody for being here today. I didn't actually expect so many sisters to turn up for something like this because it's a very different type of event, especially for me. I don't usually attend events like this, discussion-based events, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm nervous purely because of the panel that I'm with and the caliber of the people that I'm with, but alhamdulillah, all of it's a blessing and it's an honor for me. I do have the honor of starting off the discussion by explaining the status of women in Islam. And I want to focus on a certain aspect of it because it's such a general topic that I could have focused on anything, but I want to focus on us as women in terms of raising the next generation, because we are the ones in control of what's going to happen with the next generation. Everything we do, everything that we strive to do, every act or every mindset that we hold will determine this next generation that's going to come. And as women, we are in control of what we produce in terms of our household, the children that grow up, the environment that we create in our households. And I want to focus on two things, especially just two things that I feel are so important, and something that we tend to neglect as women in our own households and in terms of raising children. The first thing is food. We don't focus enough on food. Food is so important for the nourishment of our children. Whatever, the saying, you are what you eat, that is exactly how those are the principles of Islam in terms of a mother. A mother will create her children through the food that she feeds them. And for me, I recently moved to Birmingham and I realized that chicken and chips is hella cheaper in Birmingham. It's really cheap, and there's so many people that regularly for dinner they'll just pop to the takeaway and just buy it, and then the families are eating that, and I'm thinking we're raising a generation of chicken and chips, children. It's not very good. It's not, because everything that you eat is going to have an effect on your brain. It's going to have an effect on your bodies. It's going to have an effect, most importantly, on your soul. Because we know that, the men of the soul, the men of Allah have spoken about it over and over again. They've said, be wary of what you eat. Be wary of what you eat. And, can no one hear me? Thank you. They've told us so many times, that's really loud. They've told us so many times, be wary of what you eat. And that was one of the reasons why Sayyidina Umar, he actually banned eating meat every single day in his khilafah, because he said that it's not good for you. It's a burden on the soul. It's heavy for the soul. So we need to be careful. And this is one of the things that I focus on a lot, because nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to be told that pizza is not for you. Don't have pizza, or don't have fizzy drinks especially. But I think as a nation, if we really want to work hard, if we really want to do something about this next generation that's coming, we need to focus on the food that we eat. Because so many of the academics have even mentioned it. They've mentioned that the beef that they use, the beef that is now produced, they put a hormone in it which is estrogen. And estrogen, when everybody eats that, they say, the scientists have said that there's a theory that this is why there's a rise of homosexuality in America, because of the mass consumption of beef. And beef has estrogen in it, that they use beef to kind of make it, to make the cow healthy a lot quicker. And they use that, and they say that because the men have so much estrogen inside them, that's why there's a rise. But this is just a theory, but it shows us that we need to be careful. It shows us that we need to be wary of what we eat and who's cooking it and how it's being cooked. Because a lot of the time we have, in takeaways, there's a lot of swearing whilst they're cooking, there's a lot of aggressiveness and all this horrible talk whilst they're cooking, and then you eat that food and then you will become that. You will become a person of foul language and things like that. And we need to focus on these things a lot. One of the things that we have been taught by our teachers is that whilst you are cooking, do dhikr over the food. Recite salawat over the food. because so many of the scholars have mentioned that if there's ever been anything good that we have done in our lives, if there's any good act that we have in our lives, it was because of the food that we ate. It was because of the food that our mothers cooked us. There was a Syrian scholar, he was on his deathbed, and our teachers went to see him, and they said, please advise us, because that's what you do when you meet scholars, you say, advise us. And this Syrian scholar, he could have given his life's worth of wisdom. He had so much to give, but he chose to advise them about food. And he said that if there has ever been a good act from me, it was purely because every single meal that I had, my mother would place it in front of me, telling me that she had recited 1,000 salawat over every single meal. And he said that's why good was in me, and I did good from that. So when we cook, and we have that privilege that we are in the kitchen a lot more than men, hopefully, inshallah. And we have that privilege that we are in control of what we feed our children. So when you're cooking, recite salawat, anything simple, la ilaha illallah, that could be enough to make that food good for you. And now every time I'm like giving tea to my mom, I'm like, Allahumma salli ala, I'm probably passing it to her whilst reading durood, because even tea, even water, anything simple, whatever you're giving to somebody to put inside them, make sure it's good. Make sure there's goodness in it. And I feel that is something we need to focus on. When our children, or if we do have children, or when we will have children, what we feed them is going to create them as human beings, healthy, happy human beings, because of the healthy, happy food that you give them. Let's get rid of these fizzy drinks and the takeaways and all of these things that, although they feel like, okay, it's just a one-off, it's just once a week, it's just once, every 2 weeks, it will have an effect on the person. And the people of knowledge, they used to be so wary of what they would eat, that they would say that if I had ate too much meat, a little bit more meat than I should have, I was deprived from Qiyam al-Layl. And this was something that, they were so careful of it. And we eat so much food, and then we think, oh, why do I sin? Or why is my soul so weak? Why am I weak as a person? Why can't I fight all of these desires, all the weaknesses that I have? Start with food. Food will help. And it's something that I've been focusing on, and it's helped me a lot. I'm a lot more active in my salah when I have stopped specific foods that, I shouldn't be having. And I think that's something that we need to focus on. Another thing is the discipline of children, because we will be raising this next generation. We do want to have a lot of discipline in place, and we do want to raise these children in a way that would make us happy. But we need to understand that discipline doesn't start when they're 10 or 11. It doesn't start when they are, when they've reached high school and then all of a sudden they're going crazy and you're thinking, that's it, I need to discipline this child. You need to start thinking of discipline, as the Sufis say, or as the people of knowledge say, whilst the child is in the womb. And whilst through pregnancy, you need to start discipline then. They say it's too late to discipline a child who is 5 months. So imagine us trying to discipline a child who is 10 years old or 11 years old. So we need to kind of create that environment. And for me personally, I really do believe that discipline for my future children will start now. I need to practice it now. Whatever discipline I want to instill in my children in the future, I will have to work on it now. I need to focus on it. Because if you think about it, if you just generally think about it, a woman who is always in dhikr, or a woman who is always in wudu, and we know from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that your limbs do dhikr whilst you are in wudu, and your limbs are always doing dhikr whilst you're in wudu. So a woman whose limbs are always doing dhikr, then imagine the eggs of that woman, or imagine the produce, the child from that woman. So if you need to discipline your children in the future, if you want to have good children, be good yourself, as in the sense of always be in wudu, always be remembering Allah, always think about Allah, because what this triggers is, your limbs are pure, everything around you is pure, and then your offspring will be pure. And these are the two things that I think we should focus on. Focusing on ourselves before we focus on our children, and focusing on the food that we do feed our children, because this next generation that is coming has a huge task ahead of them. they will be fighting so many hardships. I mean, we struggled growing up. I'm still growing, by the way. I'm not that old. I'm still growing. I'm struggling whilst I'm growing. And I can't imagine the struggles that the next generation will be going through. And we need to make it easier for them, kind of assist them in what they do. And the way to assist them is practice it. Make that environment in your house. Make that environment in your home, so that when they are raised, they're raised in a healthy, happy environment, so that they feel that Islam isn't depriving them from everything in their lives. It's actually encouraging them to do everything that they would do anyway. But that was basically what I wanted to focus on, as in Islam, is the rights that women have in Islam in terms of motherhood, and what we should be doing for this next generation. These are two things. They seem small and they seem like a day-to-day thing that wouldn't really have a huge impact, but they do. Food has a huge impact, and the way you are, the way you behave, how much you remember Allah will define what your children are like and whether they remember Allah regularly and things like that. But I won't take too much of your time, inshallah. I will be inviting our next speaker on, inshallah. I think it's Sister Humera.